So after seeing the Mortal Kombat movie, which is awesome, I definitely think that we could get a sequel. And yeah, I've got some information and thoughts about that I want to share with you guys. If you have not seen the Mortal Kombat movie, spoiler alert, I'm going to basically recap the ending of the movie and then give you my thoughts for a sequel and go over characters. So if you've never seen the movie yet, unless you just want to know what's going to happen and kind of get ahead, more power to you. If you have not, by all means, pause the video, save it to your watch later list, come back, and enjoy the fun. Alright, so recapping the ending of Mortal Kombat. So, of course, the heroes win, surprise, surprise, and Shang Tsung says that he will return and he will bring back new fighters. And not just new fighters, he will bring back an army of fighters. Say, what? And then we also have Raiden saying that he wants his heroes, while commending them on the great job that they've done, he knows there are more heroes out there that are chosen ones and that need to be a part of the next Mortal Kombat. So he sends his people out to go find them, and that's basically the movie, except Cole Young says that he's headed to Hollywood to go find Johnny Cage, and he walks by a poster showing Johnny Cage's belt that just says Cage that you've seen from like Mortal Kombat, I think 9, 10, and 11. So that's basically how the movie ends for Mortal Kombat, the original 2021 reboot, which is awesome. And it, pretty much gets me thinking, well, what's next? So I think this movie is going to, while following the footsteps of Annihilation, the 1997 sequel to the 1995 original, I think what it's going to do is set up Mortal Kombat 2 with a little bit of Mortal Kombat 3 elements. Because as I'm going to talk about in a future video about the Mortal Kombat cinematic universe and what that would look like, I think that when you actually space out the movies, it can't get a movie per game. And I remember I had somebody on one of my videos comment about why can't they make a movie, per tournament or, so many fights in a tournament. I think that when it comes to these kind of movies, that's just way too long. And I know that like Marvel in, phase, however many phases it was, 1 through 3 or whatever, had, a lot of movies, but they're more like individual hero movies. And then there was like the group movies. So all these are just like all group movies, So I think ultimately for a sequel, it will be Mortal Kombat 2. And I think it will basically take place and take elements of Mortal Kombat 2, the video game, with a little bit of Mortal Kombat 3. So it's kind of like a quick potential synopsis. This is actually the plot from the video game for Mortal Kombat 2. Following his failure to defeat Liu Kang in the previous Mortal Kombat tournament, the evil Shang Tsung begs his master Shao Kahn, supreme ruler of Outworld and the surrounding kingdoms, to spare his life. He tells Shao Kahn that if he held the next Mortal Kombat tournament in Outworld, the Earthrealm warriors must travel away from home to attend. Shao Kahn agrees to this plan and restores Shang Tsung's youth and martial arts prowess. He then extends the invitation to the Thunder God and Earthrealm's protectors, Raiden, who gathers his warriors and takes them into Outworld. The new tournament is much more dangerous, and as Shao Kahn has the home field advantage, an Outworld victory will allow him to subdue Earthrealm. So that's the plot for Mortal Kombat 2, the video game. And obviously from here we know that it was obviously Cole Young. While there was no direct battle between Shang Tsung and a Mortal Kombat character from the first one, we do know that Cole Young and the Earthrealm Warriors did win. And the prophecy that was told in the first one about Cole Young being, the lineage of Hanzo Hasashi and how he beat Sub-Zero. We do know that when Shang Tsung goes back to Shao Kahn, it could be in the same fashion where he's like, I failed you, master. My fighters weren't up to snuff and couldn't do what you wanted. So I think this time around, maybe Shao Kahn, maybe he would make Shang Tsung a little bit younger, to where maybe Shang Tsung could participate in a tournament or in a fighting, which would be kind of cool to see. We've already seen his moveset as far as, when he steals the soul of Kung Lao. So we have seen him in some type of action, but it'd be kind of cool to see him, maybe more of a fighting role. And I do think that having them go to Outworld versus Earthrealm, we'll be able to see more of the characters that we want to see from Mortal Kombat 2 and the Mortal Kombat 3 video game, the MK3 Ultimate and the trilogy. So from that synopsis, I wanted to go over my roster, my, predicted roster for who the bad guys could be in the sequel. So first up, I have new Saibot. So in Mortal Kombat, we did see that Sub-Zero, beyond Sub-Zero, dies. He is burnt to a crisp and basically ashes by Hanzo Hasashi, Scorpion. And we do see that Shang Tsung maybe saves him. He kind of seems like he teleports him with some smoke. And why else would he do that other than to probably make him Noob Saibot, which I think would be what fans would want to see in a sequel. We have never really seen Noob Saibot be in a movie before, or well, we kind of have. We did see him a little bit in Annihilation, but I mean, in a true form, not just for a quick couple scenes, like a full storyline in a movie. we haven't seen him yet. It'd be kind of cool to see, you know, Sub-Zero return behind as Noob Saibot. Next up, I have Baraka. I think Baraka would be really cool because we've already kind of seen some Takart-ness features with Melina, so we know that that obviously exists somewhere in the Mortal Kombat universe, so why not have Baraka? Baraka would be a formidable foe. Now, I do think that he would be probably a hero that would be easily killed, which is fine, but as long as he doesn't look as crappy as Reiko and he does have some type of lines or story, I think he's okay. Next up is Sheeva. So Shang Tsung does teleport Goro as well. Obviously, he's dead. So he transports his body, and I think he's going to maybe use this as a way to show, you know, the Shokins and Sheeva say, hey, the Earthrealmers killed your prince, you know, it should piss you off, right? So why don't you join me and let's, you know, get him. So I think that we would possibly Sheeva in a sequel, which I think would be awesome. While she's not as, you know, big as Goro, I think she's just as intimidating as just as lethal. I think we could possibly see one of the Lin Kuei cyber assassins. So it could be Cyrax, Sektor, or Smoke. If you had to pick out of those three, I think Cyrax would possibly be the best one. Or maybe Sektor. I don't know. One of the two. I think one of the two of those, Cyrax or Sektor. I don't know that Smoke would need to be in there yet, but it could be one of those three. And I think that could just be more diversity in the group of villains. Now, next I'm going to have Motaro. So if I was really kind of thinking about the count, so we had 8 and 8. We had heroes and villains, and then like a big baddie. So we had like Shang Tsung or Goro, and then we had Raiden. So I think if you kind of make it even, I think that we have to have some type of big bad monster. Goro was the one in the first one. I don't think Sheeva would fit that spot. Sheeva would just be like a regular minion. But I think if we needed to find a Goro replacement, I think Motaro would be a really good pick. Next up, I have Sindel. So as I go to my hero roster, it'll make more sense, but because Shao Kahn will show up in this list and will be in the second movie, I'm for sure, because we've seen him twice already in the first one in a, you know, one of those little rocky glyph thing, murals, and then we saw him obviously when Raiden teleports the heroes to fight the individual villains. We see this huge sculpture statue thing of Shao Kahn. So we know that Shao Kahn's going to be in the next movie. So I think that Sindel will be at his side because we've already seen Kitana's fan, and I think that we'll see Kitana. So I think Sindel could be a pretty good pick to be in the next movie. And of course, I have Shang Tsung and I have Shao Kahn. So from those, let's move on to my good guys heroes list. So first up, I have Nightwolf. So in another video I'm going to talk about all the characters that were basically teased and revealed from the movie, and one of those was Nightwolf. So Nightwolf is, I mean, what I liked about that was they made it seem like Nightwolf has been a part of history for a long time, and we don't really actually know the age of Nightwolf. I know that the video game depicts him as kind of like the same age range as our heroes, but maybe he's a little bit older, or maybe he's just, you know, found the fountain of youth with his people. Who knows? But nonetheless, Nightwolf, I think, will be a part of the sequel. They'll go seek him out, and I think that they will try to, of course, he will be a good guy. And I think, you know, given, you know, what's happened to his people over in history, and then we have, you know, maybe Shao Kahn wanting to enslave people, you know, that might get him more reason to go defend not so much just Earth, but also his people. Next up, I have Kitana. Like I said, if they're going to have Sindel in there, and they've already had Melina, if they're going to have Shao Kahn, given that Kitana is a stepdaughter, I think that if they introduce that same kind of lore, I think that Kitana will be in there. We have Johnny Cage. So we already know that Johnny Cage was teased in the movie, so we know he's going to be in the sequel. Why would he do that? If you're going to send him on a quest straight to Hollywood, Johnny Cage will be in there. And what I liked about that was, you know, I mentioned about bringing Kano back, and that would be nice, but I think if they don't bring Kano back, Johnny Cage can make up for the comedy relief, and he'll be, instead of being a pain in Sonya's ass as far as a villain, he could be a pain in Sonya's ass as a romantic interest, which I think will be something that people would want to see. And then we have our regulars. We have Cole Young, Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, Jax, and Raiden. So as far as like new characters, it's just really Nightwolf, Kitana, and Johnny Cage, which I think is really all we need. Now, I did want to add some wild cards in here because these are characters that are from Mortal Kombat 2 and Mortal Kombat 3, the series, and they may or may not make an appearance, but I wanted to kind of just throw them in as wild cards. So we have Kintaro. I don't think that we'll have Kintaro show up while, you know, I don't think there's need to have, if we've already had Goro, we don't really need much of the same, even though he's more Tiger-esque. I don't think they'll include him. We might see Kuai Liang's Sub-Zero, but I kind of feel like we got some closure with, you know, the way Bi-Han was killed with, you know, Scorpion. I think now if Noob Saibot were to come back, really it's going to be Noob Saibot versus Cole Young to get revenge, and then maybe a Scorpion could pop up. We'll see. So in saying that, Scorpion, I think Scorpion could come back, but I don't think he'll be a main part of the movie. If anything, he comes back just like he did to kind of aid Cole Young. Next up, we have Stryker. I know Stryker was in the Mortal Kombat 3 game, but I don't think that he's really needed in the sequel, at least. He could be in like possibly prequel or other sequels, but in this one, I don't think he's really needed. We already have Sonya and Jax, who are members of Special Forces. We don't really need a third one. Maybe if they do a flashback for some reason, they can show him, but I don't know that we really need him, but I'm putting him on the list just in case. Next up is Jade. I think we don't need to be throwing too many Danians in there because we're going to have Kitana, and then if Sindel comes into play, we kind of have the mother-daughter thing going on, so I don't really know what purpose Jade would really play. I could see her maybe like in future movies. If they did tease Kotal Khan, so maybe if we ever get that far, that they'll be able to include her, but right now I don't know why they would need her. I also have Ermac on the list. Ermac does seem like he could be a possible pick because he, does work with Shang Tsung and is basically just a compilation of souls, but then again, I don't really know what the purpose would be and who, as far as a pairing of characters, he would really need to go up against. I do hope that they bring Melina back. I really hope they do, even if it's just for a short while to be easily killed off again, which would be ironic. I think it should be fun to have in there. And I think it'd be kind of cool, like I said, to have Kano resurrected with a metal plate, maybe a bald head, maybe go off of that look. And then I did add Raid on there, but again, he's another Adinian, and I don't really know what storyline or purpose he'd have to be in a movie. So what do you think about my idea for a sequel? What do you think about the characters I think that could be in the next movie? If the characters I mentioned were there ones that I missed or maybe that you thought should be in the movie that either were introduced in teases that you'd like to see in a sequel, let me know in the comments below. That's it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed, hit that like button. For videos like this one and all my Mortal Kombat coverage, make sure you subscribe to this channel. And I'll see you guys next time on the Mashup.